A little bit about my profession. I really started as a production person. I have been with Sky Cable as the head of airtime sales and production here in Cebu. And I have loved directing and producing shows, both live and taped. And right now, I'm doing both. I'm into business process and HR consulting. This is in partnership with my better half, Josh Kaare. And at the same time, I also produce TV commercials. I am a mother of two wonderful boys, and I love to cook. I also bake cakes. I'm also a cake artist. So I love to do so many things in my life. And one of that is recently I've been into painting. Painting just started very recently in my life. I only started doing this after some significant events that happened in my life. Actually, I never knew that I could paint before. I've always wanted to paint. When I was younger, I've always been amazed and awed by the beautiful paintings that I see. And I've always wished that someday I could make one for myself. Little did I know that painting will become one of my most loved profession these days. I started painting just roughly a year ago, so I'm very, very new in this craft. But I'm just so blessed that there's so many people who support me. And I've had several clients who has bought my paintings, and it has given me so much confidence in this new craft that I do now. I would not call myself an expert, but passionate in painting and in almost everything that I do. Because aside from painting, I'm also a cake artist. Well, I also love to cook. And there's just so many things that I love to do in my life. But recently, painting came to me like a love affair. Although it started at a very significant stage of my life when there were several very critical events that happened or unfolded in my life that really brought me to doing this. You see, I lost my mother almost 2 years ago at the height of the pandemic. Grief was one thing that shattered me, and it made me realize that losing someone that close to you is not easy at all. Well, I've had several losses in my life before, but not like this one, like a death of a dear mother. And because of the grief, I had to find some way to have myself go through it. And that's when painting came to me. Painting came to me like a love affair. Although it started at a very significant stage of my life when there were several very critical, events that happened or unfolded in my life that really brought me to doing this. You see, I lost my mother almost 2 years ago at the height of the pandemic. Grief was one thing that shattered me, and it made me realize that losing someone that close to you is not easy at all. Well, I've had several losses in my life before, but not like this one, like a death of a dear mother. And because of the grief, I had to find some way to have myself go through it. And that's when painting came to me. I only started painting last year, so I'm not saying that I'm an expert to this. But what I could say is that the passion that I give to what I do brought me to where I am now, wherein this coming November 6 to 11, I'm going to have my very first solo exhibit at Mezzo Hotel. I've also been a part and a member of the Philippine Arts here in Cebu. And I've had my first group exhibit. I joined the artists from Philippine Art just last month. And now, this month, I'm going to have my very own solo exhibit. So, how did I start painting? You see, it came to me as an amazement because I have never held a brush or a paint when I was younger. Not until last year when I went through this significant series of events. You know, if I would just mention them, you know, glaze through them. As I mentioned, I lost my mom at the height of the pandemic. There was a dear friend of mine who went through very tragic emotional and mental dilemma that made me realize that, you know, we have to take care of our mental health, our emotional health. And after that, of course, came Bagyong Odette, where it really, you know, took a toll on me. I went through generalized anxiety disorder immediately after that calamity because I saw how devastated the city was. And on our way to Negros, because we were trying to escape the calamity here in Cebu, I saw how devastated the place was. And maybe it became too much for me to handle. That's when I started to hold a brush and a couple bottles or tubes of paints. And I'm going to show you the very first painting that I created, that I made, that led to all this. This is my very first painting. This is actually a painting of mine about that friend that I was talking about. I was just trying to express something that couldn't be expressed by words. I wanted to comfort her. I wanted to tell her how important she is to me. I wanted to let her know that what she's going through, it's not easy and I am behind her. But sometimes words are not enough. And so I painted this. I painted this very, very first painting for her. And that's when it all started. After this happened, I realized that I get some relief from painting. So whenever I go through some emotional struggles, I go through some mental struggles, I go to my brush and to my paint and start expressing myself through colors. And that generalized anxiety disorder made me realize that when we are going through something difficult, we just have to find a way to deal with it. We cannot just put it behind us and say na by pasagdain na lang, you know, things will heal by itself. I really feel that you have to bring out something in you wherein you can let go of all this, you know, pent-up emotions. This may not be words. Some of us may not be very good in talking. Some of us may not be very good in sharing what they feel. But for me, I found solace. I found peace in holding a brush, you know, and doing those strokes as I paint. When I started painting, I started a lot of pop art and I was painting a lot of faces, particularly women. Maybe because it was my way of expressing how I felt. Maybe it was because of, you know, trying to paint me, how I was. So most of the paintings I did were a little bit, when you look at the character, when you look at the subject of my painting, they're more, almost always, you know, in the depressed side. But contrary to that, I used bright colors. Because I always believe that no matter how down you are, there is always beautiful things around you in this world. Colors bring life to us. So the contrast between the emotion of the subject and the colors that I use is my way of telling the world that no matter how sad or how low we are, just always remember to look around you because there's always beauty in everything. Even in the most difficult times of our life, something beautiful will come out of it. Because you see, when I went through this emotional state, this was not the first time that I've been really down. I've had several experiences before where I was really so down. But it always turned out that there's something good that came out of it. And that's what my painting tells, you know, my audience, that even if the subject is a little bit sad, the colors surrounding it is vibrant and bright and colorful because it talks about hope. It talks about giving you something to look forward to because not everything is gloomy. Just look around you. Take time to stop and smell the roses, as they say. Take time to stop and, appreciate the color of the sky, appreciate the color of the seas, even the colors of the grass and the flowers and all that. And that's where I derive my inspiration from. And speaking about flowers, after some time, after painting all these women, faces in pop art, I evolved into painting flowers. And that's when my clientele started to tap me and approach me, and they asked me if I could paint for them. And indeed, that's when my sort of profession in painting started. So I really appreciate those who trusted me from the very beginning, those who have appreciated my art from the very beginning. Right now, I have sold several pieces, and a lot of my friends have encouraged me to do this solo exhibit. Well, actually, one of the reasons that I also want to do this solo exhibit because my house is already filled with paintings. So I have to let go of some of them. So I'm going to do that in this solo exhibit come November 6 to 11 at Mezzo Hotel, which the exhibit is called Buska. Buska because Buska is a Portuguese word that means in search of or to seek something. Well, it's very fitting to my art because, this art, painting came to me when I was in search of comfort, peace of mind, when I was in search of peace and assurance during my anxiety. And I really believe that I would like to share this moment. So for those who would come to the exhibit on November 6 to 11, you will be able to see some of these paintings that came out from my anxiety. But I assure you that these are beautiful pieces that will give you hope. These are beautiful pieces that will remind you of how colorful our world is. How did painting help me in the pandemic? Yes, definitely. As I said earlier, the pandemic changed a lot in us. Not only around us, but in us. The pause or the halt in everything that happened in the pandemic made me realize and appreciate life more. Time to give to myself. I started going to the gym. I actually lost 60 pounds in the pandemic. I started to nurture the talent that was given to me, and that is, one of that is painting. I also started writing a book. I write a lot of essays during the pandemic, and painting is one of the ways for me to express my artistry, to express my creative juices, because I've always had all these ideas in my mind. The creativity that just overflows from me. This is just one way where I could express all this. And I'm so glad and I'm so grateful to the Lord that He has, made me realize that He has gifted me this talent in painting. And right now, I'd like to share this talent with anyone who would want to have a piece of my art. You come visit in this Buska solo exhibit, because you can actually buy some of my pieces there, and I assure you that the price is just right. As a newbie and as a local artist myself, and joining Philippine Art, it's an organization here in Cebu. Actually, the members of Philippine Art are not just from Cebu City. Some are from, outside Cebu City. We even have members from abroad. And this organization actually helped me boost my confidence in art. Okay. There's so many local artists here in Cebu. Some of them are just students, children. Others are already in their retirement age. It's just a variety of people from different walks of life who come together and just started to bring out their art into the world. And it's just so important to support them. Supporting the local artists actually is encouraging more people to take care of their mental health, if I may say. Supporting the local artists is giving and enriching our culture, both as Filipinos or as Cebuanos. Supporting the local artists actually helps some artists have food on their table. When we support someone who is a little bit less confidence about what they do, you will be amazed of what they can come up with. And that's what happened to me. With only that very little support from the friends and family that I have, from that little confidence that I have from painting my very first piece, now I am painting huge pieces and I am painting pieces for celebrities. It's just something that made me realize, that the support that you have will really go a long, long way to boost someone's confidence. And more importantly, to give them something to look forward to. And for others, even a source of income. So please do support the local artists. And with that said, I would also like to mention that come November 26 to December 1, Philippine Art, that's my group, will also have another exhibit at Ayala Center Central Block in IT Park. And we're going to have art mazing there. You will also see my works there again. We are going to have structural art, and we're going to have shadow art using recyclable materials. And of course, all our different art pieces will be showcased there. And that's what we call art mazing, or art maze. And it's a wonderful activity to go to this November 26th to December 1. So please also go there and attend. But of course, before you go there, once again, I would like to invite everyone to please come and join me in my very first solo exhibit entitled Buska at Mezzo Hotel this November 6th, and it will run up to November 11th. And I hope that in my little way, in one way or another, I am able to inspire you. So if you are that someone who has not started painting, but you want to paint, and you feel like this is something that you want to do in your life, start doing it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Look inside you, find that inspiration. Buy that first brush or that first tube of paint and start painting. You will never know what will come out of it. That's all. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching.